The saw screamed behind him, and beneath the marked pine, a pair of amber eyes stared up at Daniel, 3 tiny kittens, huddled in the roots. Inside the cavity, a bobcat mother snarled weakly, her cubs pressed against her belly.
If that machine touches this tree.
He scrambled up, threw an arm high, and yelled for the dozer to stop. The operator killed the engine, confusion written on his face.
Shut it down. There's a bobcat den under that pine. Nobody cuts here until I say so.
Cubs? In the middle of the tract?
Daniel, we've got 40 acres by Friday. You sure this is the hill to die on?
I don't care about the schedule. I am documenting this.
The den was safe for the moment, but the order to cut still stood.
You know what stopping means, right? No cut, no pay. A lot of us have bills.
I know, Harlan. But those cubs, they're just babies. We can't just bury them. We can't just bury them.
I am not burying anything. I am not losing my soul for a paycheck.
You are crew lead. Your job is to get us production, not save every critter in the woods.
He knelt and took a photograph, the flash illuminating the mother's glowing eyes and the tiny spotted bodies.
If I show Marty this, maybe he'll see. It's not just a hole in the ground.
Marty? He's got the contract hanging over his head. You think he'll care about a bobcat?
I don't know what Marty will do, but I know what I have to do.
Daniel walked back to his truck, the crew watching in silence, and found Marty's contact. He pressed call. The line rang, and his future hung in the balance. Marty's voice barked through the speaker, sharp and impatient.
Reeves, you better have a good reason for shutting down my dozer. We're behind schedule.
I found an active bobcat den, Marty. A mother and 3 cubs, right in the cut block.
A bobcat? You stopped a $2 million job for a stray cat. Keep cutting, Daniel. That's an order.
I can't do that. Those cubs won't survive if we fell that pine.
Then maybe you should find another line of work. You defy me. You are done.
14 years. And this is what it comes down to.
I'll give you 10 seconds. Either get back to work or clean out your locker.
Then I'll clean out my locker. But I am not killing those cubs.
He ended the call, the silence in the cab heavier than any engine roar. He stared at Maya's picture taped to the dash. The same hopeful grin, then climbed out.
Reeves, what in the hell did Marty say? Are we all out of work now, or just you?
He said cut or quit. I chose quit. But before anybody makes a decision, I need to show you something.
He turned the phone so they could see. A child's drawing of a bobcat with cubs, signed "My Dad Protects Animals."
That's Maya's drawing? The one she gave you for Christmas when she was 8.
So you are throwing away a steady paycheck for a kindergarten art project. You've gone soft.
It's not about the drawing. It's about being the man she thinks I am. I can't bury a mother and her cubs.
Harlan shook his head, walked to the edge of the clearing, and spat. He didn't say another word.
I am not ordering anyone to stay, but I am not moving from this tree.
He folded the phone away and rested his hand on the marked bark, the silence holding more weight than any argument. An hour later, Marty's truck rattled up the access road and stopped at the clearing's edge.
Reeves, still standing under that tree? I figured you'd have come to your senses by now.
The den's active, Marty. Come see for yourself.
Marty walked over, peered into the shadowed hole, and straightened without a word.
I see a hole. I see some fur. This isn't a protected species, Daniel. It's a nuisance cat.
That mother has 3 kittens in there. They won't survive if we fell this pine.
You think one den stops a $2 million contract? I'll give you till sundown to start cutting. After that, you are fired, and the crew cuts without you.
The ultimatum hung in the air. Ethan shifted on his feet.
Then you'll have to fire me. I am not giving the order.
Marty climbed back into his truck and left the crew standing in the dust, the deadline ticking.
I can't do it, Daniel. I got a mortgage and a grandkid coming. I am not losing a week's pay for a cat.
Harlan, wait. What if we figure something out?
Figure what out? Company won't budge. I am not throwing my life away for his conscience.
He grabbed his gear bag and walked toward the road without looking back.
I am not leaving you, Daniel, but I don't know how much longer we can hold.
One man down, maybe more by sundown. I need a reason, something that forces their hand.
He scrolled to a biologist's number, Dr. Elena Marquez, wildlife specialist for the county.
Dr. Marquez, this is Daniel Reeves. I've got an active bobcat den in a cut block. The company wants it gone by tonight.
I can be there in an hour. Don't let them start cutting until I assess it. There may be regulations.
He hung up, the afternoon sun already sloping west. The deadline crept closer, but for the first time, he had a thread to pull. Elena's SUV arrived within the hour, and she crossed the clearing with a field kit, kneeling at the den entrance.
It's active. 3 kittens, maybe 2 weeks old. Bobcats are listed as a species of concern in the state.
Species of concern. Does that mean they can't cut? Marty said, it's a nuisance cat.
Not exactly. The state recognizes their value, but forestry regs don't mandate a buffer. It's discretionary. Operators should avoid active dens where feasible. Should, not must. You can raise a complaint, but it won't stop them today.
So I am still alone with my word against a $2 million contract.
Not entirely alone. I'll document this den and file a report with Fish and Wildlife. It might give you leverage later, but today the final call is yours.
Leverage later won't save those cubs by sundown.
I know. But sometimes doing the right thing means holding the line even when the law can't help.
The sun dipped lower, and Daniel understood. Biology was on his side, but the law was not. The den remained safe only by his refusal. In the truck, he opened the email from Elena, a snippet of Keller Timber's own environmental plan. Keller Timber will avoid or minimize disturbance of active wildlife dens whenever possible.
Marty, your own plan says avoid active dens. That's a promise your company made.
That's a guideline, Daniel. Not a legal requirement. It doesn't change the deadline.
You'd break your own written policy just to cut a few trees?
Policy says minimize. We'll minimize by cutting around it once you clear the rest. Now, the sun's setting. You got nothing.
The first streaks of orange bled through the pines. The deadline had arrived. Out in the clearing, the crew sat idle. No one started a saw.
They didn't cut, but by morning, Marty could fire me and bring in replacements.
The den held through the night, but Daniel knew the fight wasn't over. It had only shifted. The night stretched on. Cold and quiet, Daniel sat in the cab, head against the steering wheel.
14 years of logging, and I am throwing it all away for a den I can't even protect.
He pulled his wallet from his back pocket and flipped it open. Maya's school photo stared back, the same smile that had filled his dash since kindergarten.
She drew that bobcat because she believed I could save anything. What if she finds out I couldn't?
Outside, the forest was silent. No crew, no Marty, no saws. Just him and the weight of an empty bank account.
Maybe Harlan was right. Maybe I am just a stubborn fool who lost his paycheck for a few cats.
He thought of the mother in that hole, the kittens pressed into her belly, trusting the dark.
But if I cut that tree, I'd be haunted by those eyes forever. How do I look at Maya then?
He gripped the steering wheel, the leather cold against his calluses, and closed his eyes. The den still stood, but so did the question, was it worth his whole life? The phone buzzed in his lap. One missed call from home, a voicemail.
Daddy, Mom said, you found a bobcat family and you are trying to save them. I knew you'd be a hero.
He pressed the phone to his ear, tears cutting tracks through the dust on his cheeks.
I drew another picture for you. It's of you and the bobcats. I am gonna bring it to the forest when you are done.
The voicemail ended. He sat motionless, the phone clutched in his hand.
She thinks I am a hero. I can't let her down. Not now.
He scrolled to a contact he'd saved months ago, a local reporter who had covered the mill closure.
This is Daniel Reeves. I've got a story about a logging company, a bobcat den, and a deadline that's already passed. You interested?
The reporter's voice came back, sharp and quick. "I'll be there at dawn." He ended the call, and for the first time in 2 days, the weight in his chest felt just a little lighter. The reporter's van rolled up just as the sky turned pink, a camera operator in tow.
Right there. 3 kittens and a mother. Keller Timber wants to turn this into timber by noon.
Bobcats are a state species of concern. Active dens should be avoided. The company's own policy says so.
The reporter knelt, captured the mother's glowing eyes, and promised the story would lead the 6 o'clock news. At 6, the report aired. Footage of the den, Marty's ultimatum, and Daniel's face, weary but unbroken. The news anchor's voiceover declared, "A local logger is risking everything to protect a Bobcat family."
He went to the press? That fool just made this a public war.
Within an hour, the station's lines lit up with calls. Keller Timber couldn't ignore the noise.
You've stirred up a hornet's nest, Reeves. The board is watching now.
Has the board decided to save the cubs?
The next morning, Marty's truck pulled up again. He stepped out with a tablet and an offer.
The board wants the story gone. Leave a 50-foot buffer. Cut the rest. Keep your job.
50 feet. That won't save them. The cubs need space to learn. The mother needs cover to hunt.
It's more than any cat deserves. Take it or lose everything. Your job and the den.
Then I'll lose it. I won't trade their lives for a paycheck.
So you'd throw everything away for a litter of kittens? You really are a fool.
Maybe. But a fool who can sleep at night.
Marty shook his head and left. The offer hung in the air like a dare. Daniel stared at the den. 50 feet wasn't enough. He knew it. The public was watching, but the company's patience was thin. He'd refused the first offer. The standoff continued. Just after noon, an email from corporate ended his 14-year streak. Suspended without pay, pending investigation.
Suspended. One word that means no paycheck, no timeline, no certainty.
He drove home through quiet lanes, the weight pressing on his chest like a second heartbeat. When he pushed open the door, the kitchen smelled of crayons and leftover pasta.
Maya, you here? I am back early.
Daddy, I heard on the news about your bobcats. Are you gonna be on television forever?
He crouched down as she skidded to a stop, a lump rising in his throat.
I might lose my job, sweetheart. But some things matter more than a paycheck.
Like the bobcats. You always said you'd protect things that can't protect themselves.
He held her close, the crayon bobcats watching from the fridge. For the first time in days, he believed he could hold on. By the next morning, word of Daniel's suspension had spread through the crew like a grass fire.
We're not cutting without him. Not one tree.
The feller bunchers sat cold, their saws silent. One by one, the crews set down their gear.
Marty can fire all of us, but he can't replace a crew that won't work.
Harlan arrived late, his lunchbox dangling, and froze when he saw the idle yard.
You gonna cross us, old man? Or you gonna stand where Daniel stood?
Harlan looked at the den, then back at Ethan, his face unreadable.
I got nothing against those cubs. I just got bills.
He didn't pick up a saw. He just leaned against a stump and waited, as if it were any other day. The crew held. The machines stayed off. But the deadline they'd been given was gone. Now the only question was how long the company would let them sit. A dark sedan pulled up that afternoon, and a man in a suit stepped out, the vice president of operations, with Marty trailing behind him.
He wants to see the den, and he's authorized to make the final call.
The VP crouched at the den entrance, his shadow falling over the roots, and watched the small beings inside without a word.
Bobcats are a state species of concern, and the company's own biodiversity policy recommends a buffer. 150 feet would let them survive.
I am not asking for the whole tract. Just enough space so that mother can raise her cubs. That's all.
The VP straightened, his face working through calculations none of them could read.
Sir, we're losing thousands every day. We've already turned back the dozers twice.
And I've lost my pay. My crew is sitting unpaid in the dirt. They're waiting for you to do the right thing.
The VP glanced at the silent crew, then back at the den. He said he'd take it up with the board. No decision, not yet. He left without an answer, and the den held. But Daniel felt the floor swinging beneath him. One wrong word, one more night, and everything could still shatter. 3 days passed. No word from the VP. The news had moved on, and the forest sat in an uneasy truce.
Bills are piling up at home, but if I fold now, those cubs die for nothing.
That evening, he drove back in a light rain, the den wet but untouched, its small lives still inside.
They're waiting us out. Let the cubs grow and wander off, then claim the issue resolved itself.
One of the cubs poked its head into the drizzle, blinking, its life still hanging on a boardroom vote. The cubs were strong now, climbing over the roots. In another week, they'd be ready to follow their mother into the woods.
Right into the path of the dozer, if the company gets its way.
He stayed until full dark, the rain turning to a heavy mist, the waiting like a second pulse. The night passed. Still no call. The den held, but Daniel felt the floor cracking beneath him. The next morning, his phone buzzed. Marty's name on the screen.
VP gave me the green light. No word by Friday. We cut, den or no den.
Then you'll have to cut over my body.
That's exactly what we'll do, Reeves. You are not the only man who can run a saw.
The line went dead. Daniel stared at the silent forest, the deadline settling like stone.
Friday. 3 more days of waiting. Then either a miracle or everything I fought for gone.
He walked to the den, the mother's eyes watching from the shadows. He swore nothing would touch them today. The crew saw him standing guard. Ethan brought him coffee, saying nothing.
I've done all I can. Now it's up to a boardroom full of men in ties.
He spent the nights at the den, the cubs growing braver, waiting for the phone to ring. Friday afternoon, 3:17. The phone finally rang. Not Marty's name, but an unfamiliar corporate number.
Reeves here.
The VP's voice was careful, but direct. The board had approved a 200-foot buffer around the den.
You are sparing the den. A real buffer?
The answer came. It's the best they can do, and the crew can return Monday if they honor the boundary.
200 feet. Is that enough for her to hunt? For them to learn? I'll take it, and I'll hold you to it.
He hung up, and for a long moment he just breathed, the weight of weeks shifting on his shoulders. He looked at the den, then at the flagged boundary he would now help mark. It wasn't a victory, but it was a chance. The cubs had their space. Daniel had stood, and the company had bent. For now, that was enough. Daniel and Ethan stretched pink flagging tape between the saplings, tracing a 200-foot arc around the den.
Feels good to mark this boundary. After all that, it's finally real.
It's not a law, but every man on this crew knows not to cross it.
The dozers rumbled back to life, but they turned wide, carving the Clearcut around the buffer. Then, a familiar pickup pulled up at the edge of the clearing. Harlan climbed out, his lunchbox dangling.
He heard the news on the radio. You actually did it.
Couldn't have held without the crew, even the ones who had doubts.
I called you a fool. Guess I was the one being a fool.
Daniel extended a hand. Harlan took it. Then Ethan bumped fists with both, a small grin cracking his face. The buffer stood. The crew was whole again, and the den still held, safe behind its pink line. One morning, a week after the buffer was marked, Daniel sat on a stump at the boundary's edge and watched. The mother emerged first, low and cautious, her ears sweeping the clearing. Then 3 small shapes tumbled out behind her. The cubs wobbled over the roots, batting at dried leaves, following their mother into the dappled light of the saved patch.
They made it. After everything, they're out in the open, alive.
He pulled out his phone and dialed home, his thumb trembling slightly.
Maya, you remember those bobcats? They're out, the mother and all 3 cubs. They're walking in the buffer right now.
You saved them. I knew you would, Daddy. I am drawing you a new picture with all of you together.
Take your time on that drawing, sweetheart. I am not going anywhere.
He hung up and sat still, watching the cubs chase each other under the pines. The buffer small, but alive. For the first time in weeks, the silence in the woods didn't feel heavy. It felt like a beginning. In the months that followed, the story of the Daniel buffer spread quietly among the crews.
You cost me a lot of sleep, Reeves. But I'll admit, the practice stuck.
I am not crew lead anymore, but I am still on the ground. That's what matters. That's what matters.
When a new den was found on another tract, crew leads began marking a small buffer before cutting. Even Marty, once loud to push back, admitted the practice didn't break the bottom line. Daniel stepped back from crew lead, but remained on the crew, his standing quietly rebuilt. One morning, a wooden sign, "Wildlife Buffer Area," appeared on the boundary stump. The cubs grew lean and strong, learning to hunt within their circle of protection.
It's not a law, just a practice. But it's enough for now.
A small sign, a small patch of trees, and a man who had drawn a line in the dirt. 2 years later, Daniel and Maya walked the buffer's edge, the den now quiet but the woods alive. Through the scrub, 3 lean bobcats slunk past the same cubs, now hunters.
You saved them, Dad.
No, sweetheart. They saved me.
She squeezed his hand, and they stood in the small patch of forest that refused to fall. The deed had cost him a title, but it had given him a story he could hold. The Reeves buffer sign was nailed to a pine, its letters faded but proud.
Didn't change the law. Changed a practice, one crew at a time.
The cubs had their own territory now, but they still returned to the buffer's edge. A small sign, a small patch, a man who drew a line, and the line held.